Mells Wargo never makes a mistake. This is my grandfather's story, and dates back to the 60s. My grandfather was a first-generation American, the youngest son of 8 children, son of English immigrants. He met his sweetheart at age 19, and married her soon after. Her family were Californios, Mexican citizens who became Americans due to CA becoming a part of the U.S., and suffered some prejudice due to their heritage. My grandfather used to go to the bank with his father-in-law to make sure that he was able to cash his paychecks without issues. One time bank teller passed him his money instead of counting it out. So after leaving the counter he counted up the funds and found that the teller had accidentally given him twice the amount shown on the check. So my grandfather and his father-in-law went back up to the teller and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but I think you made a mistake." Looking down her nose at him, she said in a condescending tone of voice, "Mells Wargo never makes a mistake." Quote, "Being an honest guy," the Phil said, "but," quote, "then my grandfather stopped him and said, 'You heard her. Mells Wargo never makes a mistake. Let's go,' quote, and off they went grin. Bank error in your favor, collect $200. Absolutely the best response to the stupid teller. This type of situation happened to my dad once at a grocery store. He was given either $10 or $20 over what he was due in change after using a larger bill. He said the same thing in a polite voice, "Excuse me, I think you made a mistake with the change in." Got a similar nasty reply back about how the change was correct and she didn't owe my dad anything. He, being the bigger man, said, "Yeah, exactly, you don't owe me anything back, you overpaid me." Then asked her if she would like the extra money back. She was very embarrassed and then apologized. Very cool. A guy the first no pulled a little over $10 million out of Mells Wargo when he learned their people had signed up millions of their customers for credit cards without their knowledge or consent just to make sales quotas. My favorite story is about a late friend who came back from World War II and opened his one-man law office in Boston and bought a house. He pretty quickly learned that a different payment due date for his mortgage would work better for his cash flow because his clients didn't always pay monthly bills on time. He asked the bank to change it and the bank refused, saying it would be too much work to calculate the interest charges to accommodate a date change. In those days everything was done with paper and pencil and a hand-cranked adding machine. So what he did was add 1 cent to his monthly mortgage payment for the next many years, forcing the bank to recalculate interest each and every month. Well, she wasn't a teller long, I'd bet. When she couldn't close out that evening, being short cash of 1 paycheck, the bank would have said so long pretty quick. Probably that night. I wonder if she realized her error when her drawer was short at the end of the day? I've been a teller for about 3 years, and I have heard almost this exact same story from like a dozen customers. Don't know if it's like an urban legend or just happens just like that very often. Strange. Anytime someone has ever come to the counter and claimed they were given the wrong amount, it's policy for our tellers to immediately stop everything and detail count their drawers. My wife had a similar thing happen once when she started a job in Istanbul. She tried to tell the accounting department she got an extra $39 the first month. The company was an English-speaking company, but most of the people in charge were Turkish and didn't really listen to the English-speaking employees. The head of finance must have thought she was trying to ask for more money and became quite rude in response, so she just said, "Oh, okay," and walked out of his office. She continued to be paid $39 too much every month. Not a huge amount, but it certainly added up over the 2 years of the contract. Back when I was working at the porn store, the manager asked me to take $50 and get it changed to fives. I went to First Onion. I get the change, and as I am walking away I count 11 fives. I turned back to tell the teller. He responds that he didn't make a mistake. I say loudly as I walk away, "You gave me too much, so I'll just keep it. Thanks." It went into my pocket. Too funny. Today my husband received 2 letters from them about a closed account. My husband said that it was more than 20 years ago. So, for whatever reason, he got checks totaling $300. So, you are right. Lol. The timing of this story made me chuckle. Someone showed me a letter she got today from Mells Wargo. It was basically a corporate apology for mistakenly closing her account in the 2000s, as they had reviewed the action again and found it wasn't fraud like they originally claimed. Payoff check included. I had that happen when I was in San Diego at the Navy Credit Union in the 80s. I had withdrawn $100 and when I was leaving counted it and had $200. I looked at the receipt and saw it was for $100. So I went back to the teller and tried to tell her about the mistake. Now the tellers at this CU were wives of sailors and Marines. Very entitled. And were used to bossing around lower-ranked enlisted since their husbands were usually senior enlisted or officers. So this teller doesn't want to hear anything about what I am saying. I try to explain that I got too much money and heard the "I don't make mistakes," and she was getting pissed. I went to another teller and explained. And she went over and then they took the $100. No thank you from the original teller. I thought about leaving with the cash, but I figured it would be easy to find out who got the money, and didn't want the MPs knocking on my door. I bet when the teller totaled up her cash that night she'd found a whale of a mistake. Come on, she counted it out twice. How could it be wrong? When my GF's parents got divorced, her mother was the bread maker and dad was a stay-at-home parent. Mells Wargo foreclosed their house after the divorce because they couldn't trust her to make payments as she was a single mother. She made more than they had when she bought the house and neither of them owed any child support. But now that she wasn't married she couldn't be trusted to make payments. This was in the 2000s and she tried to keep it, but between everything else going on she decided to drop it and move. Isn't this a Friends episode? Father stopped off at a gas station once and gave me $40 to go in and pay. Clicks off around say $30, so back in I went. Over at the Slurpee machine is a woman dispensing one. Cashier is enamored with her tight black dress. The whole 9 yards. Definitely adding to his spank bank. Change on pump 5 inches and he keys it in. Still admiring the show. The register would show on the screen. And the little customer facing one on the pole, gas prepaid $5 40 inches, then after that flash, due $10. $40 later. On my way out the door. Sir. You gave me, yeah it's correct, keeps admiring the lady in the distance. He was so fixated on her. Couldn't say anything else but thanks and walked out. Kept a straight face and gave my dad the change back, which puzzled him. Free fuel and $40. Couldn't quit laughing when I told him what happened. Talk about a once-in-a-lifetime oddity moment. We always called people descended from the original Mexican families rancheros or los rancheros. Never heard Californios before. When I came back from Vietnam I decided to buy a motorcycle. Sitting in the car I recounted the cash I had drawn from my savings account and discovered I had $20 too much. When I got back to the teller, I started to explain there was a mistake when she interrupted saying mistakes had to be caught at the counter. And then, would you like to speak to the manager? Quote, I agreed. And less than a minute later I explained to the manager, with the teller standing only a few feet away, that I had received $20 too much but that the teller said I couldn't correct the error because I didn't discover the mistake until out at the car. The manager looked at the cashier and said, Do you think you can take care of this? She shook her head, and the manager left. Needless to say, there was no small talk between us while she recounted the cash and returned $20 to her drawer. Bake him away toys energy. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doomscrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.